And joining me now to discuss this development is the National Coordinator, Education Rights Campaign in Lagos, Hassan Taiwo. Good to have you join us, Hassan Taiwo. Now, schools...
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Schools have reopened today amid concerns that there might not have been enough monitoring to ascertain the preparedness of these schools. And now we're hearing from our correspondents across several states in the country saying that, you know, the compliance is here and there, 50% comply, maybe 50% didn't comply. Let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's worrisome because if it was a different issue we are discussing, and then the report of compliance is said to be 50%, then it might not be a cause for alarm. But what we are discussing is actually a matter of life and death. So where you then have a report that says that there's compliance in some places, but in some places, you know, compliance are not that good, then there's a reason to be fearful, because what we have seen with the virus is that just a breach, just a little mistake could be a basis for an outbreak anywhere. So that if you have schools where on the first day of introduction, there has been a laxity, you know, when it comes to the compliance with the protocols, then it therefore calls to question, you know, the preparation that the government and other stakeholders put in place before the school introduction itself announced.
If you recall, there was also some sort of controversy around this date, which is 18 January for resumption of schools. At first, when the date was announced, it looked like it was okay, but it was withdrawn because the federal government said there were mixed reactions concerning the date. And then it was announced that it's going to be 18th. And many people feel that there should have been enough time for some protocols to be put in place. What did you expect in terms of how we reopen schools?
Yeah, it should have been enough time. I mean, don't forget that it wasn't just a few weeks ago that the question of school resumption was debated. Actually, since around September or thereabouts, there have been attempts to reopen schools partially, and there have been discussions about what needs to be put in place. You know, so that we should expect that with this new reopening, there should not be any reason, you know, or any room, you know, for any laxity. What we as the Education Rights Campaign is that first and foremost, you know, there would have been overhaul of the, you know, physical infrastructures in all of the schools, because the key issues that needs to be put in place really to ensure safety are questions about ensuring that students are able to, you know, receive education with very little contact with each other in order not to, you know, compromise their own health. And that requires that first and foremost, you know, the UNESCO standard for class sizes, you know, have to be, you know, maintained of about 30 pupils to one teacher. But in most schools across the country today, you know, you have a figure of 80, 120 students in a classroom, you know, per teachers. So what you'd have expected in preparation for resumption, you know, is that government in all areas, whether the federal and state levels, would have done a lot to expand, you know, the school infrastructures, the classrooms, to ensure that you can maintain that kind of standard, classroom size. But beyond this, it's also the question of ensuring that, you know, there are the school clinic or the sick bays, you know, are provided with adequate provisions to ensure that they're able to respond to any emergency, alongside with the provision of free masks. We haven't heard in any of the reports that have been given, you know, about how much masks are actually provided in each school, so that even if a pupil forgets to bring his or her mask, you know, there's something to give to that person to ensure that, you know, they don't have to be turned back. So we are not hearing all of this. And then every school is just a unit of society.
All right.
You know, the pupils come from home through the public transportation system to the school. If you go to any of the motor parks in Lagos State, in Ogun State, or across the country too, there's hardly any motor park where the COVID-19 protocols are being followed. You know, you now have a situation whereby overcrowding the buses, you know, are a permanent feature now, and very few people actually even use their face masks in these buses. So pupils come through this means of transportation to the school, and then they use their face mask. That is not going to resolve anything.
I'm afraid we do have to leave it there. Let's see what plays out, over the week, to see how schools will comply to these protocols. National Coordinator, Education Rights Campaign, Hassan Taiwo, thanks for talking to us.
You're welcome.